Hello friends, I welcome you all to Coder's Companion and today we are going to cover Maven Interview Questions. Please like, share and subscribe to support us. So without any further delay, let's get started. Let's start by understanding what is Maven. Maven is a popular open source build tool developed by the Apache group to build, publish, and deploy several projects. It simplifies the build process like Ant, but it is too much more advanced than Ant. Maven is a build automation tool that's mainly used for Java projects. This tool is used to develop and manage any Java based project. The objectives of Maven are to simplify the build process, build the project, and deploy the resulting artifacts. Next question is, why is Maven used? Maven helps with the following. Apache Maven helps to manage all the processes such as building, documentation, releasing, and distribution in project management. The tool simplifies the process of project building. Hence, it increases the performance of the project and the building process. The task of downloading the jar files and other dependencies is done automatically. Maven makes it easy for the developer to build a project in different environments without worrying about the dependencies, processes, etc. So remember that in Maven, it is simple to add new dependencies. All you need to do is to write the dependency code in the POM file. The next very important question asked in the interviews is about the difference between Ant and Maven. Ant requires the information on the project structure to be provided in the build.xml file. So, Ant has no formal conventions. So, the information is to be provided in the build.xml file. Whereas, Maven does not require the information about the project structure to be provided in the pom.xml file. Maven has conventions, so information is not to be provided in the pom.xml file and is procedural in nature, which means that we manually tell exactly what to do and when to do, whereas Maven is declarative in nature, which means only the source should be present in the default directory and has no lifecycle, whereas Maven has lifecycle. And scripts are not reusable. Maven is mainly used as a project management tool and is less preferred than Maven, whereas Maven is more preferred than Ant. Now comes what is Maven POM file? Project Object Model POM. It refers to the XML file with all the information regarding project and configuration details. So, a project object model or POM is the fundamental unit of work in Maven. It is an XML file that contains the information about the project and configuration details used by Maven to build the project. It has the description of the project, information regarding the versioning and configuration management of the project. Always remember the XML file is in the project home directory. When we tend to execute a task, Maven always searches for the POM in the current directory. Another question that is asked in reference to POM file is, what are the minimum required elements for the POM file? So for creating the simple pom.xml file, you need to have the following elements: project root, model version, group ID, artifact ID, and the version. Let's talk about them one by one. The project root is the root element of the pom.xml file. Model version is the sub-element of project. It specifies the model version and it should be set to 4.0.0. The group ID is the sub-element of project. It specifies the ID for the project group. The artifact ID is the sub-element of the project. It specifies the ID for the project. An artifact is something that is either produced or used by a project. Examples of artifacts produced by Maven for a project includes jars, source and binary distributions, and wars. Version is the sub-element of the project. It specifies the version of the artifact under given group. A sample depicting the POM file is represented as below. Another typical question that is asked is, what is build profile? A build profile is a set of configuration values which can be used to set or overwrite the default values of Maven build. Using a build profile, you can customize build for different environments such as production versus development environments. When developers work on development phase, they are intent to use database from the production instance, and for the production phase, the live database will be used. So in order to configure these instances, Maven provides the feature of build profiles. Any number of build profiles can be configured and can override any other settings in pom.xml file. There are three different type of build profiles: per project, per user, and global. Per project is defined in pom.xml, per user is defined in maven settings.xml, and global is defined in maven global setting.xml. Another one is, what is snapshot in Maven? Snapshot refers to the version available in the Maven remote repository. It signals the latest development copy. Maven inspects for a new version of snapshot in the remote repository for every new build. So snapshot is a special version that indicates a current development copy. Unlike regular versions, Maven checks for a new snapshot version in a remote repository for every build. In other words, a snapshot version is the development version before the final release version. The snapshot is older than its release. Next question is, how do you manage the dependencies? Dependencies are external libraries that your project needs to function. To specify a dependency, you just need to add a section to the POM file with the name and version of the dependency you want to use. Maven will automatically download and include them in the build process. This makes it super easy to include the external libraries and ensures that you have all the dependencies you need. Another interview question is, what are the steps to install Maven on Windows? Download Apache Maven, add Maven Home system variable, add Maven Home bin to the path, set up Maven Home system variable and update the path from command line on Windows. And the last step is to test the Maven setup on Windows. And for that, the command Maven-version will display the version installed in the system. Now the next question is, how to check which version of Maven is being used? So for that, there is a command which is Maven-version. This command is typed in the command prompt and the version of Maven in system will eventually appear on the screen. Next question that is generally asked is, what are the important project build commands? So there are several build commands and let's go through them one by one. The first one is Maven clean, which cleans the project and removes all the files generated by the previous build. Next one is Maven validate. it validates the project's POM and configuration. Another one is Maven compile, which compiles the source code of the project. Then is Maven test that runs the test for the project. Then is Maven test that runs the test for the project. Another one is Maven install. It deploys the packaged jar or the WAR file to the local repository. Then is Maven deploy, which copies the packaged jar or the WAR file to the remote repository after compiling, running the tests, and building the projects. Then we have Maven install hyphen d skip tests equal to true, which compiles the test but skips running them. Another one is Maven install hyphen d maven dot test dot skip equals to true, which skips compiling the tests and does not run them. Then is Maven site which generate the site without test reports. And the last one is Maven test site which generate the site with unit test reports. The next question is, what are the different type of Maven repositories? So there are three types of Maven repositories: local repository, remote repository, and the central repository. Let's understand them one by one. The local repository refers to the machine of the developer where all the project material is saved. The local repository contains all the dependency jars. Then let's talk about remote repository. The remote repository refers to the repository present on a server that is used when Maven needs to download the dependencies. Whenever anything is required from the remote repository, it is first downloaded to the local repository and then it is used. And the last one is the central repository. The central repository refers to the Maven community that comes into action when there is a need for the dependencies. And those dependencies cannot be found in the local repository. Maven downloads the dependencies from here in the local repository whenever needed. This one is interviewer's favorite question, that how does Maven architecture work? So Maven architecture works in 3 steps, which are as follows. The first step is to read the pom.xml file. Then it downloads the dependencies that are defined in the pom.xml file into the local repository from the central repository. And lastly, it creates and generates a report according to the requirement and execute the life cycle, phases, goals, plugins, etc. Another one is, what is Maven build lifecycle? Maven lifecycle is a collection of steps that are to be followed to build a project. There are 3 built-in build lifecycles: clean, site, and default. Clean lifecycle handles the project cleaning. Site lifecycle handles the creation of project sites documentation. And default lifecycle handles your project deployment. Now moving on to what are the phases of Maven build lifecycle. So there are several phases like validate, compile, test, package, verify, install, and deploy. Let's go through them one by one. Validate. So this step validates if the project structure is correct. For example, it checks if all the dependencies have been downloaded and are available in the local repository. Compile. It compiles the source code, convert the .java files to .class files, and stores the classes in the target or the classes folder. Test. It runs the unit test for the project. Package. This step packages the compiled code in a distributable format like the jar or war. Verify. This step runs to verify that the project is valid and meet the quality standards. Install. This step installs the packaged code to the local Maven repository. And the last one is deploy. It copies the packaged code to the remote repository for sharing it with other developers and the projects. So with this, we have come to an end of this session based on Maven interview questions, and I wish all the candidates a very good luck if you are participating in some interview for the role of Java framework developer. I'm sure this will surely help you. So that's it from my end for this session. If you have any query related to the question we have discussed here, please feel free to add the same in the comment section below and we will reply to them at the earliest. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So that's it from my end. Thank you and happy learning.